strong anti-crime bill, one which deals with the problem where it's occurring. At the state and local level, the president threatens a politically motivated veto.
By killing the crime bill, the president can campaign against Democrats by saying they're soft on crime, even though they say this is the toughest crime bill Congress has ever written. Katie?
Thanks, Andrea. Now to NBC's John Cochran at the White House. It's been a bad week for the president, and today the White House set out to reverse the political misfortunes. John, what's the game plan?
Katie, the first thing they're doing here is to pretend that last week was not a week of plague and pestilence here at the White House. And the second thing they're doing is to take this act on the road.
How are you? Nice to see you.
The president hopes the road to recovery began today in Columbus, Ohio.
Right.
Maybe not economic recovery, but at least an upturn in the fortunes of George Bush. Today, with the nation fixated on the economy, Bush was focusing on education. Instead of jobs, the president was pushing hard for education reform. Later, he insisted his road show was a smash hit.
It was very good. It was a wonderful trip and very upbeat in terms of the education program. That's what people are interested in.
People may be interested in education, but they are more interested in pumping up the economy. That is what is hurting Bush's popularity. A new NBC News poll shows only about half the voters, 51%, now approve of Bush's overall job performance. That's a big drop from last month, when 63% approved of Bush's performance. And when asked about Bush's handling of the economy, only 27% approve. 65% give him the thumbs down. Today, Bush said his economic program has been torpedoed by Democrats.
But most people understand the problem when you have a divided government.
And a divided Republican Party, too, with 82 House Republicans signing a letter to Bush criticizing his domestic leadership. Quote, "On the domestic scene, the American people see a stagnant economy and an uncertain future."
We need to send a very clear message, a confident message to the American people.
Those 82 Republicans want Bush to name Housing Secretary Jack Kemp to take control of domestic programs. But Bush has no intention of humiliating himself by asking for Kemp's help. Bush also refuses to dump his chief of staff, John Sununu, whose abrasive style has raised the blood pressure of many a Republican on Capitol Hill.
So for now, the White House message is thank you for your interest, but we're getting along just fine. Katie?
Thank you, John. When Nightly News continues, we'll look into credit card interest rates and why plastic sometimes burns its users. And tonight in the 90s, Bob Kerr on how the budget squeeze in these tough economic times is forcing a big welfare cut in Michigan.
How's your sinus pain when you bend over?
It hurts right in the top part of my nose. I mean, my eyes just ache.
Did you know all these sinus pain formulas have the same medicine?
Is that right? The Sudafed sinus?
They're all the same, but not this.
Dristan sinus? What's different about this?
It's got the modern pain reliever ibuprofen.
I would like to try Dristan sinus. Oh, I feel so much better. I mean, I don't feel any pressure at all. No sinus pain, no drowsiness. This is it, Dristan sinus.
Dristan, the face of relief today.
The grit is gone. The grit is gone. Announcing the smoothest tasting, best mixing natural fiber you can buy. New Sunrise Smooth Metamucil. Same natural fiber for regularity as original Metamucil, but now completely smooth, with no more grit. Tastes like a citrus drink. The smoothest tasting, best mixing natural fiber you can buy. New Sunrise Smooth Metamucil. The grit is gone.
New figures out today show sales of existing homes posted a 1% gain in October as consumers responded to lower mortgage rates. However, no indication of improved consumer spending overall. A White House effort to change this by calling for lower credit card interest rates backfired. NBC's chief financial correspondent Mike Jensen has more. Mike?
Katie, there are almost 1.5 billion credit cards out there. The banks make a lot of money on them, and they don't want to give up a penny of it.
3/4 of the households in America have a Visa or MasterCard issued by one of nearly 6,000 different banks. And there are dozens of other kinds of cards. Interest rates, for the most part, are extremely high. 7 of the 10 largest card issuers charge 19.8% interest, even though the money they lend out costs them only about 7%. They say that's because operating expenses, including advertising, are high, as well as losses from people who don't pay.
Delinquencies are up significantly in this recession. They're up 30% over last year.
The banks get about 3/4 of their credit card revenues from finance charges, and most of the rest from fees paid by merchants and from annual fees paid by card holders. Banks make about twice as much profit on credit card loans as they do on most other loans. It's the one bright spot for a lot of banks that have lost money on bad real estate loans and loans to third world countries.
Throughout the next decade, we're going to be doing more and more plastic transactions.
Maybe so, but credit card profits peaked 3 years ago and have been slipping ever since. With the weak economy, people are using their cards less and paying off their balances more quickly. Card issuers don't like the 1/3 of all card users who pay their bills immediately and never have to pay interest. There's no profit for the banks in that. The issuers love card holders who borrow a lot, carry a substantial balance, and make their payments on time.
In many cases, the people who can least afford to use credit cards, who have huge loan balances and pay a lot of interest, are subsidizing those with lots of money who pay quickly and never pay interest. Katie?
Thank you, Mike. In a healthy economy, credit cards can mean a better lifestyle for millions of Americans. But when the crunch comes, those lifestyles often end abruptly. NBC's Roger O'Neill.
Dear Santa.
It's a long list, and 6-year-old Brian Rife hopes Santa is listening this year, especially this year.
I want a train, stuffed animals, and Legos.
Last year, credit cards. 7 of them took care of the list.
You don't want to see your son go without clothing or toys or, et cetera, whatever he may need. And it was, here it is, pull it out and use it. And that's what I did for a couple of years.
Plastic also helped buy a new house, a washing machine, eyeglasses. But then came the recession, a bonus check canceled, and a wage freeze. The Rifes were $6,000 in debt.
We were headed for bankruptcy because, the bill collectors that were calling every day and things like that, we would take, one credit card would get 3 months behind, so we would, take the money that we had and pay that, and the next day another one would call.
It's a typical story, and why an estimated 7 million Americans are in a credit crisis. Between 1988 and 1990, the number of families in debt up to their ears who sought credit counseling jumped nearly 150,000. By the end of this year, the number is expected to top 500,000.
What we're seeing is that people were in trouble 2 years ago and didn't realize it. They were robbing Peter to pay Paul. They were surviving. And as we've gone further into this recession and people have experienced a cut in hours or possibly a freeze in salary, they just have not been able to keep up.
Services like Consumer Credit Counseling, a nonprofit group, gets people like the Rifes to tear up their credit cards, pay off their debts, some of the charge companies even agreeing to waive interest payments, and learn money management.
Other than, going over some fine-tuning the budget, you guys are doing great.
Christmas won't be as extravagant this year, but come January, neither will the bills be as excessive. Roger O'Neill, NBC News, Denver.
Joining me now are L.G. Holstein of Bank Card Holders of America, a national consumer organization, and Robert Dunn, professor of economics at GW University in Washington. Mr. Holstein, let me start with you. Why should there be a cap on credit card interest rates, in your view?
Well, Katie, right now the banks are paying us about 4 or 4.5% for our savings accounts and our checking accounts. And I think then what they do is they take our money and lend it back out to us at 18 to 20%. What consumers are asking is, how can it be that every interest rate in the economy has fallen steadily over the last several years, in fact, to less than half of what those rates were just 10 years ago, except credit card interest rates, which have actually gone higher and seem to be stuck up there at about 19%. And that's the reason why everybody from the president on down is saying we've got to do something about these credit card rates.
Professor Dunn, you don't think that credit card interest rates should be lowered. Why not?
No, I don't, because the business is not as profitable as been implied. The average yield after taxes is about 2% a year, which is better than they do on other business, but it's far from all that high. The vast majority of the costs are not the cost of attracting deposits. It's the cost of the losses and the administrative costs. And the delinquency rate has doubled since the early 1980s, and that's a cost. Bankruptcies have been made easier. So more people file for bankruptcy and don't pay these bills. So as a result, the profitability, while healthy, is far from outrageous. This is an extremely competitive industry. There are thousands of banks, and some of them do charge lower interest rates. There's an ad in the Washington Post yesterday, or last week, for a 14.5% card, a Visa, but you had to be a very good credit risk.
Mr. Holstein, how do you...
Creditworthiness has gone down.
Mr.
People are
Holstein,
in deep trouble.
How do you respond to Professor Dunn's argument?
Well, it's simple, Katie. 95% of America's credit card holders do pay their bills on time. And yes, we've had a recession, so losses have gone up about 1 percentage point to an average now about a little less than 5% of a bank's outstanding credit card debt they have trouble collecting on. But the question that most Americans are asking is, look, if I pay my bills on time, as most of us do, month in and month out, year after year, how can it be possible that I'm still being charged 19 or 19.8% interest? And the answer seems to be the banks want to charge consumers these astronomical rates, take those profits so they can continue to issue the third, the fourth, the fifth card to people who are not the good credit risks. And I think that's what's causing people the concern today.
There are thousands of credit card companies and banks out there. If this business were such a gold mine, the rates would be competed down. And by the way, those aren't the highest rates. If you are driven to a household finance or somebody of that sort, the rates get to the mid-20s.
Well, there isn't enough competition today. We know there's not enough competition because there are more than 6,000 issuers of Visas and MasterCards.
How much competition?
Fewer than 1% of those issuers are charging the lower interest rates.
The debate
national
continues.
average is 19%.
Gentlemen, I'm afraid we'll have to end it there. Thank you both for joining us this evening. On Wall Street today, the Dow Industrials were down just a fraction. Trading was active.
Take the 50 most popular cereals in America. What if you had to choose between them based solely on the side panels? No brand names, no fancy packages, just the plain and simple facts. You'd find only one is low in sugar and a good source of fiber and made from whole grain oats. Cheerios. Compare the side panels and see for yourself. The choice is Cheerios. Now you can ask Angela Lansbury about Bufferin.
Angela, you've said on TV that Bufferin is effective pain relief. Is it really strong aspirin?
I'll say it is. Extra strength Bufferin's the strongest dose of aspirin you can buy. 1,000 milligrams.
Angela, how can Bufferin be so strong if it has buffers?
That's a good question. I've learned the buffers don't weaken it. They just help prevent aspirin's stomach upset. Bufferin's great pain relief.
Shouldn't you discover the strength of Bufferin?
Mom, Ernestine says she needs a bath.
Well, not in here.
Why not? She's pretty dirty.
Well, maybe, but Ivory's not for dirty puppies.
What's it for?
Ivory's for cleaning greasy dishes, even the yuckiest mess.
Ernestine?
And Ivory doesn't hurt my hands. It leaves them soft, not rough like that other stuff. Now, about that bath, Ernestine. Come on.
Ernestine,
Ivory liquid, but clean and soft go hand in hand.
Our daily difference tonight, in the 90s, the welfare squeeze. The state of Michigan has been known for its generous social programs, but in these tough economic times, taxpayers are not willing to foot the bill, and Michigan is cutting back. NBC's national correspondent, Bob Kerr.
63-year-old Thomas Jackson faces a hard winter. No longer able to paint houses, no longer able to pay his rent. An eviction notice arrived after Michigan ended the welfare program that helped him keep his apartment.
You're dealing with lives, people. And this is a subtle form of killing.
Scenes like this have become familiar since October, when Michigan eliminated benefits for almost 83,000 childless adults considered able to work.
We just simply had people who were electing not to be gainfully employed, and in many cases now, they've had to go back to work.
By working only a few hours a week, the governor contends that Thomas Jackson and others can earn the $200 a month they used to get in welfare benefits.
The option is not for that 63-year-old man to sit in his room all day long and wait until next month when he gets another check and then sit there for the next month.
They can tell me that I'm able-bodied at 63?
Michigan officials call it an interesting social experiment, one that's already caused about 1,000 evictions, sparked tension between authorities and the homeless, and left many existing shelters overcrowded.
A lot of them are mentally unstable to provide for themselves, and even living in slum conditions was better than having no place to live at all.
Suburban churches are trying to help with food and shelter for those who can't find it in the city. Ernest Russo and Linda Barton appreciate that, but say they can't find work.
Lack of education. I got a bad back. I got a bad shoulder. I can't lift heavy things.
I've been looking. I have Parkinson's, and because I shake, people don't always want to hire people with Parkinson's.
Before automation and hard times hit the auto industry, it was much easier to find good-paying factory jobs in Michigan. Now, with about 400,000 unemployed already competing for jobs in the state, those who've lost assistance say there's little hope they'll find work. But some have. Jim Irvey found a supermarket job through a new state program. After his benefits were cut, he survived by selling discarded bottles and cans while living in his car.
Now, and I won't have to pick up any more pop bottles and pop cans.
Yet, as he kicks off Michigan's Christmas season, Governor Engler concedes there may only be enough low-skill, low-wage jobs for 1 of every 5 former welfare recipients. Not quite the spirit of the season, but quite possibly the spirit of the 90s. Bob Kerr, NBC News, Detroit.
When we come back, Fred Francis has an exclusive report on the Haitian refugees.
Presto has a great idea.
Shoot some slices, shoot some shred, shoot some salad, salad shooter.
Now, Presto has a great big idea. Professional salad shooter slicer shredder. Big capacity, holds a lot, shoots a lot. Powerful, fast, a variety of cutting blades so you can point and slice thick, slice thin, shred right into the bowl, even ripple cut. Chop, grate right where you want. Clean up easy, dishwasher safe, store anywhere.
Salad shooter.
Original, cordless, now professional salad shooter.
Everyone knows Contac wrote the book on cold medicine. Now Contac's added a whole new chapter, introducing new Contac Day and Night. On this page, yellow day caplets that knock out your cold symptoms without making you drowsy, so you can breathe easy and work all day long. On this page, blue night caplets that relieve your symptoms to let you rest. Both formulas control your cold symptoms with the right medicine at the right time. New Contac Day and Night, a whole new chapter in cold relief.
Yikes. Who's the elevator?
Whoa. I'll wait in the bus.
It's been called the toughest workout on earth. Step Reebok. Nobody can make you do it. You just have to be one of those people who believes that hard work will be rewarded.
This is so cool.
You can count on Sears for great Christmas values. This Craftsman Professional 24-drawer tool chest and cabinet combination with heavy-duty casters is $499.98, an outstanding value. Right now, only at Sears. We bake pearls made of denture material in this blueberry pie to prove how powerfully Efferdent, America's leading denture cleanser, removes this tough stain, even in between. Efferdent, stronger than stains.
Here's a quick check now of some of today's other news. At the Oconee nuclear plant in South Carolina, workers entered the containment building, located the source of a weekend spill of radioactive water, and began repairs. The government said there was no safety threat. In Yugoslavia, mortar rounds broke the quiet of another ceasefire in breakaway Croatia as federal troops stepped up the fighting. This 14th UN ceasefire lasted only 1 day. Freed hostage Thomas Sutherland returned to U.S. soil for the first time in more than 6 years. He'll spend this Thanksgiving with his family in California. In the 2 months since Haiti's coup, a wave of refugees has fled toward Florida in anything that floated, turning the U.S. Coast Guard into a rescue squad. Thousands have been taken to the U.S. Navy base at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, presenting the Pentagon with a growing problem. NBC's Fred Francis is at the Pentagon tonight with exclusive details of the military plans. Fred?
Katie, the Pentagon is planning to send several hundred soldiers led by a Marine general to set up a Haitian refugee camp at the U.S. base in Cuba. Guantanamo, a base for 2,400 American sailors and Marines, is being made ready to take more than 3,000 Haitians already in American custody. and the new camp will handle 3 times that number. Sources say that several hundred Marines will build the barbed wire compound, and Army military police units will guard the Haitians. The Haitian exodus has overwhelmed the Coast Guard and tied American refugee policy into knots. Furthermore, one senior official told NBC News today that drug smuggling from South America is virtually being ignored. During one 48-hour period this weekend, Coast Guard cutters intercepted 14 sailboats carrying nearly 1,200 Haitians attempting to cross the 500 miles between the island nation and the U.S. Coast Guard officials said today there is no end in sight, that 7 of its large cutters are so overcrowded with Haitians that they are not safe to sail and are anchored in Guantanamo Bay awaiting the emergency camp. 12 other cutters still on patrol in the strait between Haiti and Cuba are filling rapidly with the desperate migrants who have been pulled from unseaworthy vessels, often from rough water. Many are malnourished, in poor health, and not happy about being put into a refugee camp. But officials said sanitary and safety conditions on the ships are endangering the Haitians and U.S. sailors. Washington wanted the Haitians sent back, but a federal judge scrapped that plan until a full court hearing next month. Until then, perhaps beyond, it's the Pentagon's problem. Katie?
Thank you, Fred. When Nightly News continues, the country meets the city. Wild animals are out of their element this winter.
Kmart's got these CoverGirl cosmetics priced so low. Nail slicks, thick lash mascara.
Ever see famous models without makeup? They look plain.
Never see me without makeup. I look plain scary. Those chick jeans look great. Thanks. They're proportion to fit.
You think I should get another pair size larger?
Why?
Well, during the holidays, I need 2 sizes, before dinner jeans and after dinner jeans.
Kmart's giving away 3,000 trips for 4 to Disneyland.
Gee, I'd be happy just going once.
My dad had ulcers, so when my stomach started acting up, I was afraid to go to the doctor. But finally, I went. Was I relieved when my doctor said Mylanta? He said it was indigestion, not an ulcer, and my kind of indigestion called for a strong medicine.
Mylanta is strong medicine, strongly recommended. In fact, Mylanta is the antacid doctors recommend most.
My doctor said Mylanta.
And try Mylanta's Mylacon. It has the best medicine for gas.
The muscles of the neck, back, and legs run in a vertical direction. So Infiniti stitched the seats of the Q45 the same way, making it more comfortable and driving less fatiguing. At first, you may not notice the luxury of something as small as a stitch, but to Infiniti, what's important is that somewhere down the road, you will.
I was a dedicated beard wearer until my wife gave me the new Remington Microscreen Elite. It's quick, it's close. The Remington Microscreen Elite has 2 ultra-thin screens. So comfortable, shaves as close as a blade or your money back. That's Remington.
Nighttime, one of the worst times for pain. That's why you need new ultra-strength Bengay with added power. It's the strongest Bengay ever. Fast relief from muscle aches and minor arthritis pain. With new ultra-strength Bengay, you can say goodnight to your pain.
As we continue to encroach on the woodlands of rural America, moose and other wild animals are being forced towards suburbia in a search for food. In New England, this is posing a danger where it might be least expected. Here's NBC's Fred Briggs.
This isn't exactly what people expect to see when they move to the suburbs, or in cities like Portland, Maine, where a stray moose had traffic at a standstill on a highway overpass.
We thought there might have been a murder or something.
In New Hampshire, on a busy highway.
On about 200 feet to the right, on Route 25, and all of a sudden, bang, the windshield was gone. And I said, what was that? I couldn't believe it.
As it happens, Hetzel was pretty lucky.
Hitting a moose is not like hitting a skunk. It's just not the same thing.
We have had 4 fatalities, human fatalities, this year.
And 162 moose killed in collisions. Moose are supposed to be creatures of the North Woods. In New England, that means up near the Canadian border. So why are many showing up now hundreds of miles to the south in suburban or even urban areas?
It really appears to be a response to the density of moose increasing in areas north of where we are today.
It's overpopulation, and in the fall mating season, young males are increasingly driven off the turf of the older ones, so the young head south. In September, this one wound up in a Boston suburb, and it was not a happy ending.
We would like to know if there's state or wildlife people here, and if so, we want to know who they are.
I don't understand why they couldn't have shot a tranquilizer at the moose. I really don't.
Authorities say it can take up to an hour to tranquilize a moose, which is fine in an open area like this, but in a city it could be dangerous to pedestrians, to cars. It's dangerous enough on rural highways. It's a scary experience to think that you're going to run into something that weighs 1,000 pounds hard. This year, New Hampshire joined other states that have a moose hunting season.
It's a reasonable way to control a population.
A population that gets more restless every year. Fred Briggs, NBC News, Westboro, Massachusetts.
And that's Nightly News for this Monday. Tom Brokaw will be back tomorrow. I'm Katie Couric. I'll see you tomorrow morning on Today. Good night.
Up next on your 24-hour news source.
The search is on tonight for 2 suspected child abusers who walked out of this hospital with the alleged victim over the weekend. I'm Scott Pope. I'll have a live-eye report.
Some new clues, but the search goes on in Mahaska County for a missing Oskaloosa woman.
And the storm is over, but the ice remains. Gary says more could be on the way.
Those stories plus a follow-up to I Took Johnny Gosh, all just ahead.
At Menards, you'll find something for everyone on your gift list. Like Ryobi Power Tools. They make great gifts for any handy person. This palm sander is just $28.99 after mail-in rebate coupon. And make cleanups easier with a Eureka vacuum. This Eureka upright is on sale for just $49.88 after mail-in rebate coupon. Save on holiday gift ideas at Menards.
For the season's greetings to you all from Menards.
Your Toyota dealer would like you to take this simple driver's test. If you see this sign, you've probably got kids. So look for this sign because Previa has tons of room. You'll also be interested in these security signs. Toyota Previa is the only minivan to meet every passenger car Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standard. So one of the roomiest minivans is also one of the safest. And right now is the time to look for a sign of value. Stop by your Toyota dealer today. It's the right choice right now.
Why is everyone watching cable?
The other stations are boring.
That's what's in. Everyone in our neighborhood has it.
Without cable, all you get is static. Variety, choice, they've got a lot of things for the kids and adults.
What's your favorite cable channel?
Discovery.
CNN is a very good... USA.
The movies.
As an attorney, I especially appreciate the monster truck pulls on ESPN.
The chance to come home to.
This is Dinner Time Chime. Join the Family Counseling Center in TV 13 in ringing in the news during National Family Week. The family works.
You're watching WHO TV 13 Des Moines. Your 24-hour news source. And now, John Bachman, Kim Kerrigan, Rick Silvestrini with sports, and meteorologist Gary Amble with tonight's forecast. This is News Center 13 at 6.
Good evening. Thanks for being with us. The search is on tonight for an Ankeny couple.
The two are wanted on child endangerment charges. Authorities are looking for 23-year-old Laura Adler Tidball and her 24-year-old husband, Jeffrey. The two were last seen Friday night at Blank Children's Hospital. Their 2-year-old daughter was being treated there for human bite marks. And that's where we now pick up the story. News Center 13 Scott Pope is with the live eye at the hospital, the last place the suspects and the victim were seen Friday night. Scott?
John, 2-year-old Sydney Adler was admitted here to Blank Children's Hospital last Wednesday night. Now, the doctors who examined her, as you said, discovered human bite marks on her buttocks and her cheek. Then Friday night, the little girl's mother and father showed up at the hospital to take her home. Hospital staff here say they tried to convince the couple to leave the little girl in the hospital, but really had no legal ground to do so. The charges weren't filed until after the couple had left the hospital.
So if it had worked a little faster in the system, we would have had a court order, and we would have known what we could do.
And you could have kept her then?
Yes.
These two individuals have been charged with child endangerment. They're aggravated misdemeanors. And it's our belief that at this time that they do have Cindy in their possession. And so we're asking for the public's help in trying to locate these individuals.
John, once again, here's a picture of Jeffrey and Laura Tidball. Their location not known, although we do understand that Jeffrey Tidball's family does live in Central Iowa. I'm sure authorities have checked that out. But as you said, neither has been seen anywhere in Central Iowa since late Friday night. Their whereabouts unknown at this hour.
Scott, why weren't charges filed sooner?
John Sarcone said this afternoon that the case, they hadn't come up with enough evidence yet to really make a case stick, and the timing of it just wasn't quite right. The family left with the baby just about an hour or two before they finally formalized charges and issued the arrest warrants for the Tidballs.
Thanks very much. Scott Pope reporting live for us. Kim?
The search continues tonight for a 23-year-old Oskaloosa woman missing since last week. There's still no sign of Amy Hulbert, but as News Center 13's Tom Hauser reports, there is new information about the blood stains that so far are the only clues in the case.
The heavy snowfall over the weekend hampered today's search efforts. And that search was already difficult enough because investigators don't know whether Amy Hulbert is dead or alive. Mahaska County Sheriff Joe Beal and Deputy Paul DeGeest spent another day searching without finding a clue. And the ice and snow certainly didn't help.
Yeah, the ice puts an end to that right quick. You couldn't even run an airboat up through there now, so it's a sad situation now.
The mysterious disappearance of Amy Hulbert was first discovered last Wednesday morning. That's when her car was found abandoned at this recycling center on the northwest side of Oskaloosa. Bloodstains were found inside that car, and lab tests today revealed that blood is human blood. Bloodstains were also found in Amy Hulbert's home several blocks from the recycling center. That was also found to be human blood. But investigators still don't know or won't say whether or not it's Amy Hulbert's blood. In the meantime, as the search continues, optimism that Amy Hulbert is still alive continues to fade. Are you pretty convinced at this point that there must be some kind of foul play involved?
Well, I would hate to label it that at this point, but it's getting awfully close to that, in my opinion, yes.
Near Oskaloosa, Tom Hauser, News Center 13.
And Tom tells us more than 25 people took part in today's search efforts. Well, the first winter storm of the season has come and gone, but the aftermath is making life difficult for many people in the metro. This giant snowblower was making its way through the downtown streets today, clearing away the sloppy mess left behind from the weekend storm. The machine rolled over the piles of snow and blew it out the back end into a dumpster. And even with most of the snow removed, this was still a familiar sight, spinning tires trying to make their way uphill.
If you live in Des Moines and haven't shoveled your sidewalk yet, beware. As News Center 13's Mary Mills reports, you could soon be facing a visit from a city inspector and possibly a fine.
Despite the cool temperatures, Des Moines resident E.C. Bloom is working up a sweat. He spent the afternoon clearing snow from his front sidewalk.
Yeah, I like to walk on a nice smooth sidewalk, don't you? I don't like to fall down.
Now, residents who don't shovel their walk could face a fine. The city's sidewalk ordinance goes into effect at 6 p.m. tomorrow. That's 48 hours after the end of the storm. The calls have already been coming in.
Okay, on which corner?
On a complaint basis, the city will inspect their walks, and if the walk is not clear, they'll be given notice to do so within 24 hours, and if not done, we will fine them up to $30 for a first offense.
Kozitsa says the city adopted the ordinance 4 years ago following a major snowstorm. He says it's too bad the city has to resort to fines to get some residents to clear their walks, but says that something needed to be done.
Children need to use those walks for school. Many senior citizens like to get out and go for a walk. And when you have snow or ice on a sidewalk, it's very dangerous for them.
He says city inspectors will be out first thing Wednesday morning to follow up on all the complaints. In Des Moines, Mary Mills, News Center 13.
And if you have a complaint about an unshoveled walk, you're advised to call the city's Public Works Department. Well, most of us are still trying to recover from last weekend's blast of winter. Mother Nature gearing up for round 2. Meteorologist Gary Amble joins us now from the Weather Center with the latest. Gary?
Well, John, hopefully round 2 won't be quite as strong as the first round that we saw. Let's take a look at where that storm resides right now. It's just barely a ripple in the jet stream located over parts of Montana, but it'll soon be here, and this is what you can expect. Perhaps some rain in the south, maybe some freezing rain, maybe some snow. And right now, John, we're looking at a pretty good chance to pick up all three types of precipitation. It'll probably be rain in the afternoon and in the early mornings and late day hours, Kim. It looks like it'll be more in the form of a frozen type of precipitation. We'll try to straighten it out a little better for you in a few minutes during the weather segment, Kim.
Work on that, Gary, will you? Thanks, Gary, very much. Former hostage Thomas Sutherland is headed for California at this hour to visit his daughter. Just a few hours ago, Sutherland and his family arrived at the Dallas-Fort Worth airport, and he held a short news conference. Sutherland says his captors are a few days late in releasing another hostage, but he's confident all Westerners being held in the Middle East will be released by year's end. In Lucas County today, a 15-year-old Derby boy charged with murder took the stand in his own defense. Eric Couric is charged in the shooting death of a classmate, Stacy Halfordy, last April. Couric says he accidentally shot the girl while trying to shoot an intruder who was threatening him with a gun. The defense will continue testimony tomorrow.
Critical vote tomorrow morning on Prairie Meadows. The track's future lies in the balance. The Polk County Board of Supervisors will be meeting at 9:30 a.m. Supervisor Robert Cramey could be the swing vote in keeping the track open in 1992 for simulcast racing, but Iowa law currently allows simulcasting only if the track also offers some live racing, and that prospect looks very unlikely. The supervisors are expected to stop live racing for 1992 in order to get lower interest rates from bondholders.
The state attorney general wants voters to decide on whether to build a new prison. Details up next.
And a follow-up on the story of Paul Bonacci and Johnny Gosch.
Noreen Gosch confronts the man who has claimed to have a role in her son's kidnapping. I'm Jim Strickland. A special series follow-up preview when News Center 13 at 6 continues.
It's moving great. I've got a million things to do and one day to do it. Luckily, I've got some help from US West. With express service, I got my phone connected overnight. That's how I found out my furniture was somewhere on the planet. Where? I've got the yellow pages, a pager, even call waiting. Hold on a second. Hello.
Miss Lombardi, your furniture will be there in 10 minutes.
Great. Except I'm not Miss Lombardi.
US West, making the most of your time.
Here's important news if you're car shopping. Buick LeSabre, famous for world-class quality, has been designated a Best Buy by Consumer's Digest magazine. Now with 14 more feature standard. And you can get yours with 2.9% financing now for a limited time. Buick LeSabre, a Best Buy and 2.9% financing. Two important reasons why you'll get the best value for your money at your nearest quality Buick dealer.
If you want someone you really care about to have a present they'll enjoy for a long time, here are some ideas from Reichardt's. For almost 40 years, Reichardt's has specialized in classically designed clothing and accessories for both men and women. You can always buy with confidence at Reichardt's because no sale is ever final in this store. We have free parking, free gift wrapping, free mailing, or if you want to make your shopping very easy, consider a gift certificate. Reichardt's is located just north of the freeway on the 42nd Street exit in Des Moines. Please come and see us.
Surround your Thanksgiving turkey with these Hy-Vee holiday specials. Idaho russet potatoes, 10 pounds, just 99 cents. Bluebonnet stick margarine, 44 cents. Nabisco snack crackers, 2 for $3. And Hy-Vee frozen cut corn, peas, or mixed vegetables, 77 cents. For savings all day, every day, shop Hy-Vee.
Where there's a helpful smile
And low prices.
in every aisle.
News Center 13 at 6 is closed caption for the hearing impaired.
Police have yet to interrogate sex offender Paul Bonacci, the man who has confessed to a role in the 1982 kidnapping of paperboy Johnny Gosch.
While police mull over whether they'll ever question Bonacci, Noreen Gosch could wait no longer. News Center 13 was there for the exclusive